Hey, fellow warriors. Welcome to the Ezer Mindset Podcast with your host, Altamise Nicole. She's an award-winning founder to the Ezer Agency, a philanthropist, mother, daughter, and friend. Here with the Ezer Mindset Podcast, we cultivate a safe space and community to be inspired by women worldwide that strive to be the best version of themselves boldly, softly, and unapologetically. And Ezer is a warrior created to help. So let's begin to help one another in family, fun, faith, life, and love.
Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Ezer Mindset Podcast with your host. I am Altamise Nicole, and I am so thrilled to have an opportunity to introduce you to an amazing woman that has gone through a lot of adversity in her life, and yet she has still dedicated her life to empowering women to be the best version of themselves, and learning how to navigate life softly and unapologetically with an authentic voice. Today, I am introducing you to a powerful CEO, ArLancia Williams. She is the owner and the principal broker of Platinum Trust Realty, and she is also the partner to Community Title of Crofton in Maryland. For years, she has, pushed Black women into, this idea of living a soft girl life, right? And a lot of us understand being an alpha woman and taking charge and really owning everything that we do. But what happens to our heart in that process? So I'm so thrilled to have you, and welcome to the show. And yes, I would love to hear about your journey and share with us a little bit about who you are as a woman.
I'm going to start with my childhood growing up. I am an only child. That's what I knew of myself, but I'm not really an only child. I found out later about some siblings that I had. So growing up, I didn't grow up in a two-parent household. I grew up with my stepdad. My stepdad, my mom met him when I was 8 years old. Before my mom married my stepdad, I did not know of a father, what a father was, or even if I even had a father, because no one ever spoke of a father to me. I also remember growing up that I didn't have any baby pictures around the house. And, especially like at my grandmother's house, my cousins, they had their baby pictures and their moms and the pictures. I'm like, where's my picture? In my head, I'm like, where's my picture? But my mom, she met a pilot named James Brown, not the singer, just his name was James Brown. He was from Sao Paulo, Brazil. He was a pilot. So I flew a lot. I got to travel when I was younger. The caveat to that, he was a little on the abusive side. Really, really abusive. So I remember just thinking in my head that, maybe this is normal, because growing up, we were taught what goes on in the house stays in the house. And, they would get mad if you try to tell someone. And sometimes if you tell someone, that was actually going on in their house. So it was really no big deal. But I can remember him just being really abusive to me and my mom physically. He was awful. He's dead now, but he was awful. And I remember telling my mom that when I got of age, I'm going to be leaving soon. But I was maybe 15, 16 years old. I'm going to make it quick. So one day I got on the school bus before I got on the school bus, my mom and I, we actually walked to the corner store. My mom would play numbers and buy her cigarettes. So that was our time together when she got home from work. So when we went in the store, I saw a guy, and he was with a young lady that rode my school bus. And he says to my mom, she looks just like her dad. And I'm like, I have a father, what dad? So now I'm curious, and I'm just trying to listen to their conversation. So I get back on the school bus, and I tell the girl, her name's Mise. I wrote Mise a note, I heard your dad say he knew my dad. Please, if you could get this note to him and try to help me find my father because I'm being abused and I want to get out of the house. The very next day on the school bus, Mise pulls me to the side. She hands me a note with my father's number on there. And so I take a chance and I call him, and his name is Andre Mordecai. And my name was Rivers, of course. It just wasn't matching up. But I took a chance and called him because I'm thinking anything is better than where I am right now. Like anything. So I took a chance. I called him because I'm a chance taker. That's how I got to where I am. I take chances when they feel good in my gut, right? Yeah. So I called him and he was talking and fussing and, I've been looking for you and your mother took you and I couldn't find you, and I'm like, it didn't really register what he was saying. I'm just like, I just need to get out of this house. Like, I can't do this anymore. So he told me to meet him at the school bus stop and don't bring no clothes and don't tell my mom. So I did just that, right? I met him at the school bus and this guy pulls up in a burgundy Mercedes and he gets out. He's the spitting image. I'm the spitting image of him. And I knew right then and there, my heart dropped. I'm like, God, this is my father. And I got in a car with him. I never looked back. I never went back to my stepfather's home. I remember I called my mom and I'm like, look, I found my father. I'm going to stay here. You keep my clothes. You keep everything. Like, I'm going shopping. And so I'm finally happy. 2 weeks later, my mom joins us. So now I'm really happy. Like, my whole family's here. We're living in an apartment and I'm just happy. I'm going to school. I'm happy now because at first I was so miserable, like sad and miserable every day. And so now I'm finally happy. Fast forward 2 weeks, I come home and the apartment is completely empty. Clothes are scattered, maybe 2 or 3 things scattered on the floor. And I'm like, oh, we must be moving, right? I'm 16 years old. We must be moving. I stayed there. My parents didn't come home. I stayed there another night. I went to school. My parents didn't come home. And I'm afraid, to ask someone, have they seen my parents? Like, yeah, they never came back. They never came back. So I went to school. Not knowing if my parents were going to come back or not. I tried to pay the rent. Like I didn't, have anywhere to go. And so this is what I did. And this is why I started living from day to day. And so I would just start planning out, what I'm going to eat, what I'm going to do. I went and got me a job. I still went to school. I graduated, right? I was afraid, like I could have went and been a prostitute, drug dealer, anything.
So wait, let's go back. Let's go back. So you found your dad, and you go to live with your dad, and then your mom joins you. But then 2 weeks after that, they just leave?
They left. Yeah, they left me. They rolled out. They left me. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I'm afraid. Like, so, I started being timid and afraid to stay at home by myself because, I'm thinking someone's going to come in and get me. And so I couldn't, my life immediately changed from, telling my friends on the phone, what we're going to wear to school tomorrow versus I'm now at what am I going to eat? And now I can't worry about what they're worrying about. Those are no longer my concerns. Right. So my friends, I kind of fell back, and that's how I became a loner because I was afraid to tell them. They would ask if I can go out on the weekend. I would make up stories. Oh, I'm punished. Oh, I can't go. I got to do this. Actually, I could have done anything, and I didn't want to have company. I'm like, no, because somebody's going to tell. So I had to start figuring out, how I'm going to get through the next 2 years and graduate. And I made it. I became a shampoo girl, and it was literally day to day. And I realized, hey, I know how to do hair. I started doing hair, but I would never let them come to my house. I would go to their house. So it just taught me a lot of little survival skills. Okay. Yeah. Fast forward to that, I wound up meeting a guy, and I had 3 beautiful daughters. And I took care of my daughters. I did hair, and I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit about me. I was never afraid because I trust in God. Like, I was never afraid, like, that I'm going to be homeless. I just, at night, I wouldn't sleep. Hey, I'm going to do this. And actually, everything I set my mind out to do, I actually accomplished. And I wasn't even realizing it, that you can accomplish what you put your mind to. You just got to stick to the plan.
Right.
So, my mom and dad, they left me. I didn't see my mom again until I had my third child. It was maybe 8 or 9 years later.
Wow.
They called me. My mom had gotten into some trouble, and I went and got her, and I took care of her, and I nursed her back to health because she had went really downhill. I nursed her back to health, and she got on her feet, and
So for one, you literally got yourself through school after they left on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't even imagine that experience. But then you find her, or that she reaches out to you after your third child was born, and you take care of her. Can you share with us the mindset of, like, how
so when they left, when I got pregnant, I wanted my children to have a family and never go through what I went through, because I didn't know my family. Like, I was just like, oh my God. So their dad actually had a really nice family, and they're still close to that family. So I just wanted them to have what I didn't have. I was always in search of love and a family and just something, safe, just to be safe and in a safe space and holidays. And so I gave that to my children. So when my mom came back, that was my mindset. Like, I didn't hold her accountable for anything. I took her in and got her together, and I'll do it again, and for my father as well. So at 23, she came back into my life, and took a little while, but she got herself together. She went and, she moved back to the family home. My grandmother passed, so she was next on the title. And so this is a part of my journey. So I'm going to just skip fast forward. My mom got sick. She started having heart attacks because that life caught up with her, right? Mm-hmm. When her life finally caught up with her. In 2017, my mom had a major stroke and a heart attack. And I didn't know what a stroke looked like, because I don't drink or smoke or do any of that stuff. No way. Like, I just don't do it. My mom was a smoker, and whatever she was doing before she came back, I just think it caught up with her. She started having strokes, and, I'm at the time of my life. My kids are just, turning 18, and I'm like, oh, finally, I raised my kids. Everyone's in college, and now I can enjoy my life with my husband. And my mom turns and gets sick. And how can I put it? Once she got sick, my plans was not real estate. My plan was to enjoy my life now and just work and, just do me and, be with my husband and just relax. When my mother got sick, her life changed.
Were you in corporate? Were you
I was at a corporate job that was not family friendly. FMLA had ran out. She couldn't feed herself. She couldn't talk. She couldn't walk. So I'm like, okay, I'm sitting at her bedside. Like, I had to pick something that was going to keep up with my lifestyle. So I'm like, okay, I'll just do real estate. I took my test at her bedside. It took me 2 weeks online because I was good at memorizing. So I would just memorize the answer. I'm like, I'll get it after I get my license. It'll come to me. So I got my license because I thought I wasn't going to be able to go back to work, which I really wasn't. So I'm thinking my mom's going to bounce back and recover. And she didn't. Around the 6th month, notices started coming in about her house is going to foreclose. And my husband was already an investor, not an agent, but an investor. He already had about 10 apartment buildings. So I never saw me becoming a landlord. But, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to buy my mother's house. I'm going to have to fix my mother's house up because when she gets better, I'm going to move her back in there. So I'm going to surprise her. So I wound up, that was my first investment property. I bought my mom's house, right? And fixed it up. Her and her sister and her brother, I felt like I was a little angry because I felt like, you know, it was their job to keep the house up because their mother left it to them. Like it skipped a whole generation because they weren't responsible financially. And so I took it on and I'm like, okay, I'll just fix up the house and move them back in. So that was my first investment property there. And I fixed it up, and learning about generational wealth, you can hear it and someone can tell you what it is, but then you experience it yourself. And I began to realize my family on my mother's side, they don't understand, you know, they never had been responsible for themselves. And so now I have to be careful because they're like, you know, they want their name on the house. They want to be a part of stuff. And I'm like, I can't do that because now I have to build generational wealth. Generational wealth goes down to the next generation that under you. It doesn't go out to the side and up, because if something happens to me, my cousin will leave it to her kids after all the wealth, you know, that we've done built. So, and so they don't understand as much as you try to explain it, as much as you try to do for, I'm just going rambling on and on, but
no, you are good. You are good. Cause like, I'm thinking, I'm sure, cause in the midst of that, we're not going to slide past the fact that you bought your mother's house. We're not going to slide past that. You bought your mother's house, and I'm sure they saw that, right? And I'm sure they were like, oh, okay, you good. How did you handle family in the midst of all of this? Like, how did you ensure?
Well, at first, my family, I started making a lot of money at 16. And when I was 16, I was making almost $2,000 a week. And nobody really knew how much money.
Doing hair?
I was doing hair. They called me young blood. I was very good at doing hair. And they let me work in a hair salon. And I was just killing it. And I'm like, I'm going to pay the rent. So I was already used to money. And, you know, the era that I grew up in, back in the 90s, you know, the guys were doing stuff they didn't have no business. I was already, my dad was one of those people, a notorious, you know, person. And so I was already used to having money, but like my family really, as much as they don't know how much money actually we have right now. And sometimes I feel like they take advantage, like, oh, she'll pay it. This is due. She'll pay it. And sometimes I'm just like, you know, it's a lot. It's just a lot. It's a lot. I feel like all the nights that I, you know, set up with my little paper and pencil, which I have now. I do it every day, all day, write my bills out and my plans. You know, people and family, oh, you're burning the candle at both ends. You're going to wear yourself out. And then, you know, as I started to grow, why do you need 2 cars? Because then why do you need 3 cars? Then why do you need another house? Then why do you need this? And I'm just like, yeah, pretty much, like, because I want to. And my mom lives with me now, and she's sick. And I don't think anyone knows how the mortgages are getting paid. I'm just like, you're okay. Just get better. Well, I got to hit the number. I'm like, no, I'm okay. You just do you. You know, I go to the grocery store sometimes, and whoever's in front of me is going to get blessed, because whoever's in front of me, I pay their bill. And the other day, it was an older lady in front of me, I guess for the 4th of July, and they were cooking out or whatever. And she, you know, she was older. She was just digging in her purse. And I was talking to her the whole time, but I already told the person, just put on my tab, you know, this is what we doing for the day. You're good. You know, unless I'm in the self-pay line. And I like to do my good deed for the day. And sometimes family and friends, it's not good to do business with them. You know, I've learned my lesson. I've learned my lesson with family and friends. Like, they'll, you know, sometimes they want to, I don't mind doing their hair for free. But when it comes to living in an apartment, or, you know, my car broke and I use a car, I'm like, nope, I can't do it. Like, I just really can't. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I like helping my daughters, and I wish they would help and find themselves. Do something. Do something. I
How
think.
did you, like, in terms of how you handle money and how you have kind of created this foundation for you and your family? What are some of the techniques that you use to build, the financial wealth and to make the money? Like, what? So for those listening, she literally just showed a notepad. What do you write on that notepad every day?
Every day, I write what I'm going to do today. And I used to overput what I'm going to do on the paper, and I would beat myself up. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. Even the little things that don't cost money are important to me, whether it says call my mom, call my dad, make sure I do this. And then in between, I have my bills and just make sure that my business is still building. I mean, I'm no rocket scientist, but when you have more going out than you do coming in, that's a fast way to go broke. So I would right now, I would say after my husband had 10 properties, I wanted him to start getting multi units. Like, he had 4 units, which is good, which is fine. He's like, no, we're comfortable. I'm like, we're not comfortable. I'm not comfortable because I wanted to see how far we could go. And I'm like, no, we can do this. Let's see how far we can go. And I think at that time we may have had 40 tenants. Now we have about 460 tenants now, right? Listen.
Wow.
Life is so good. It's stressful, but it's good because, the tenants always call. We self-manage. So we got tenants calling. In between, I got family calling. I try to manage their bills, my bills, and we have to take vacations. And then I have to tell my husband, we can't leave all of this to the kids. We got to spend some of the money now because real estate is going to be there. So those buildings are going to continue to generate money for them. We just got to show them how to run the business. And what happened, because we try to give them what we didn't have growing up.
Yeah.
And I know what I didn't have growing up. So I overdo everything. Like, no, I call my daughters the chocolate angels, not Charlie's Angels. Like, the angels can do no wrong. I don't want them to suffer. I don't want them to, I saw my parents struggle a little, but they never see us struggle at all. And they think they're supposed to drive 2 cars. And I'm like, I wish we could have done that a little different. It's too late now. They're completely gone. But I try to do a good deed. And right now, I just want to teach people how to, and I'm not saying, I know I'm not doing it wrong, right? But it's probably more than one way to skin a cat, more way to do it. But if anyone, needs my help, then I'm definitely here. When I got my license, I never saw myself becoming an investor. I never saw myself purchasing my mom's house, but I had to learn real quick, right? Working with these contractors, and people like, you gonna rent it out? I'm like, no, I'm gonna furnish it and move my mom and my aunt back in the house because that's what my grandmother wanted. I know that's what she wants, right? So here, you can have it. Like, I just feel like I have to take care of them. As far as my dad is concerned, I still talk to my dad. I haven't seen my dad since I was 16. When I saw him those 2 weeks, I haven't seen him since. He has like a guilt trip. He doesn't know how much I have. I keep telling him, come on back. I got your house. You don't have to do anything. No, I don't deserve it. I'm like, yes, you do. You come on back. You made a mistake. Let's keep it moving. And that's it. Let's just keep it moving.
I think it's so beautiful that of all the things that you've gone through, of all the things that you've experienced, you still have a heart of service and you still have a heart filled with love and grace toward the people that may have impacted that journey as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you continue to maintain that throughout the years?
What, my heart?
Yeah. And just like ensuring like you give
This what
love and
this is me. This is my makeup. This is how I was born. I don't think money changed a person. I think money shows more of who you really are. I've always been this way. I think because I don't know, I just was born this way. Like, I might fuss, but I'm not going to do anything for real. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just care about people. Even when people, burn you sometimes, I'm just, I just move a little different now. But yeah, I don't, life is unfair for some people. I just think, I know everybody can't make it and won't make it. I'm just glad that I'm one of the ones God put his hands on. You know what I mean? It gets a little lonely because the more you have, it's like the less friends you have, the less, first of all, their concerns are not your concerns and vice versa. And, you try to adjust when you go out to their life because you don't want to seem like you're too big now, but sometimes you can't, you just don't mesh well anymore. Like, especially like on vacations and, you offer, we've treated people on vacations just so we can have a good time because we don't want to, do some of the things. Yeah. Yeah. And so.
And through that process of like building, because it sounds like you and your husband build a lot together. How have you two maintained building your relationship and the businesses simultaneously and it not impact you two as a couple?
I think because we're in the same field, he knows that I'm busy and I know that he's busy and we work together and we built it together. So no one's going to tear it down, not even us. And I feel like the work has meshed into the relationship because we'll talk all day. Like, what are you doing? I got an inspection. Or what you doing? Okay, I'm doing an interview. I got to close in a day. And I think if anybody else, if I was with anybody else, they wouldn't understand my schedule, what I'm doing, why stuff costs. I know when he says, I know like even when we're out on vacation and the phones won't stop ringing because it's tenants, because it's this. Sometimes cars run into the building or people, police want to pull a camera because of an incident that happened. Like I already know how it goes. It's part of the, hey, it's just part of our life right now. So, my husband go out with Crocs on every day. He wear Crocs and a t-shirt every day. And I'm just sitting there laughing like, everything is like now I feel like I want to wear Crocs every day and just go out. And at first it was like, oh, I want to wear these red bottoms, I want to do this. And now I'm like, I'm just going to put my flats on and going out the door. And when I need to show up, I'll show up. But until then, I just love I love what I do. I wouldn't trade it for nothing. Wow. I got so many stories in real estate. I get to help everyone else achieve their goals. And, I love it.
That's beautiful. Yeah, and to think it's something that you kind of fell into because it was, you needed to keep the income flowing and going when your mom was sick. And now, years later, it's an empire. It sounds like you guys have really built something absolutely beautiful and strong. Yes. I love that.
We look at it sometimes and we're just like, my husband will look at me like, is this real? I'm like, yeah. He was like, damn, we never, so I never saw this coming. I saw just being comfortable and I'm like, man, we past comfortable right now. And it, they say it's lonely at the top, but you got a hell of a view, but I feel like, that's the truth.
If there's somebody listening and they too are in the process of building and they are in the process of just figuring out, trying to figure stuff out, what would you tell them? Like, what tip or what advice would you give them as they're in their growing and building phases? Because I know while you're growing and building, you can't see where you're going, right? You just kind of like how you mentioned, you just focus on that day to day because that's all you have. Yeah. Like, Yeah. What would you tell them in their process, in their journey?
I would say a lot of people give up when they feel like they failed at something, right? But I would say don't give up, because just like riding a bike, you're not going to know how to ride a bike unless you fall a couple of times. Then you can pop those wheelies and do whatever. Like, you have to, failure is a part of success, and don't get discouraged. You got to keep going. You know where you're going. You can see where you're going. Put those blinders on and keep it moving. Like, I always say that God don't move obstacles for those He gave the ability to climb. It doesn't mean you're not supposed to have it. It means they're not supposed to be in your way. So just go and get it. If that's what you want, it's obtainable. You can get it. You in your own way.
I love that. I love it. And how long have you and your husband been married?
16 years.
16 years. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
How has your relationship with him impacted your journey as a woman?
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be so honest right now, like I always am. My husband, sometimes he feels like, as he's the man of the house, what he's doing is the only thing that's important. And since I'm making so much money, my baby can go open a shop or open a brokerage, do whatever she want to do, and it's okay. Like, he rarely, how can I say this? Because I try to run my business on my own. Like, I don't want any financial help. Like, we have closings, we have deals, but sometimes I'll tell him, hey, this is what I did today. And, this is, I got a award doing this. But if my brokerage closed and my salon closed, he know we're living off of the real estate that he's rolling with, the tenants and stuff. This is something extra, but this is everything to me. So he doesn't really, he's the type that'll give you the money, but when you get home, he don't want to see what you bought. He don't, you know what I'm saying? So he'll give you support mentally, but he's not going to walk into my office. How did the office go today? He's not going to do all of that, because sometimes he feel like I got it. You know what I mean? And I do. I love what I do. I have about 9 agents here, and we're like family. And, that's how, and I'm okay with it. I used to be like, oh, you talk about what, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't really need that. Cause he knows, like, he'll listen if I tell him, but we're
that
okay.
That reminds me of Sarah Jakes Roberts and her husband, because she did an interview recently with Kevin on Stage with her husband, and they talked about, like, the dynamic of working together and, like, being married, and they're very similar in that aspect. So, like, what Sarah has going on with Women Evolve, he's not in that unless she be like, hey, I need help with this. And even when she say, I need help with this, he do exactly what she asked.
Yeah.
And like, because it's his wife's business. It's not his business. And I think that's beautiful. That's awesome.
Yeah. We're meeting today to get our nails done at 6:30. Like, when we meet up, we'll meet up after the day and we'll do things together. And then in the morning, we're back up and out the door. I just think if someone else was in another field, they probably would not understand clients calling me at 10 o'clock and, or an agent calling me for help first thing in the morning and, open houses. It's just a busy, busy life. And I'm just glad that we understand what it takes. And we both love what we do too. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
And I have a theory. So my theory, because I was once married and now I'm divorced. My ex-husband actually encouraged me to start my business. And so I did. I he was like, instead of asking for another seat at a table that wasn't even created for you in the first place, build what you have. So I did. And that was, like, honestly, that was the best advice that he could have given me. But in that process, I feel like the business became competition in some ways. And I realized that when you are an entrepreneur, you cannot shut it off. Like you can't, even people think, oh, I'm going on vacation and I'm gonna relax. But like as an entrepreneur, going on vacation is where most likely you get a lot of those ideas rolling, because you don't have the day to day in the way, you know? And my theory is that I feel like if you are an entrepreneur and you are dating or you are involved with someone, they should either be an entrepreneur as well, or they got to have an entrepreneurial mindset or aspire to be an entrepreneur or something, because go ahead.
Right. Yeah, financially, you two are going to clash with your decisions.
Yes.
You know, your business will go under messing with someone with the opposite spirit of yours that you have. It's just not going to work. It's funny because we just went on vacation. We went to the Essence Fest, and his phone rang. You know, I was there meeting people. I met up with Chanel Scott, and I met her, and we went out to eat. And then I met with Egypt the next day. Like, I was down there making my connections and working. And I think if I was with another man, they would have been, because I left him in the hotel asleep. I'm like, nah. Then I called him, like, want to come eat? We about to go eat lunch or dinner or whatever. But we had a good time. His phone was ringing and I was working and moving, but I loved it.
Yes. And I've realized that. And now, you know, as I'm dating and, you know, dating and things, the moment someone says something about, so when do you have time to, that's when that's like the indicator. I'll be like, oh, you don't get it. You don't get it. Yeah. And it's just something that I've observed. I don't think that, you know, it's nothing wrong with someone having a 9-to-5 job. I'm not saying that, you know, everybody has to be an entrepreneur. That's not what I'm saying.
Everybody not meant to be an entrepreneur.
That part. Yes, that part. So I'm not saying, and I'm also not saying it can't be done. It just makes it extremely difficult to maintain a relationship when the person doesn't understand that if you are building something, and once it's built, you still got to maintain it until you sell it. If you decide to sell it, you know,
you never stop building.
Yeah, you're never going to stop building. And even if you sell that company, most likely what people do is they start a new company and they build something new.
Something bigger and better, and you start a franchise.
Yes.
People don't really, I used to tell my husband, if we're dream of being millionaires, if the CEO only makes $300,000 or $400,000 a year, I mean, are we really, you know, gonna make work? We're just an employee number. And I'm like, you know, I see employees gone and they die and then they replace them the next day, and you cry one day and they done went on about their business. You get paid by the hour, and I'm like, I like to get paid by my hustle. That's just what I've always done. Yeah, that's what I've always done.
Good.
It feels
That's
good.
good.
Yep. Yeah, it feels good. One thing, you know, we do have to get up early, but I always tell my husband, I'd rather go to bed when I'm tired of being awoke and wake up when I'm tired of being asleep. But
yes. Yes.
We don't even have alarm clocks.
Yes, I love that. Because I say time is abstract. So, like, a lot of people ask me what time I go to bed, and I'd be like, I don't know, whenever I fall asleep, or, you know.
Don't sleep.
Yeah.
I have to take a sleeping aid because I won't go to sleep. I'm always on my paper, like, what am I going to do this week? Or, you know, I want to do a radio commercial. What am I going to do to continue to grow my business? Like, I've done this. Now, what can I do this week? And so I'm always making posts or making connections or doing something. Yep. And that's what I like to do.
Have you ever, because you have your notepad with you and you do that every day. Have you ever kept the notes and look back and just watch?
Keep them on my phone.
You keep them on your. Have you ever gone back to see how many things you have just checked off?
Yeah, I do it every day. Every day.
What does it feel like coming from the background, the childhood you've come from, and being where you are right now, being able to help so many people in the way and in the capacity that you do?
It feels good. You know, it feels good. Sometimes it's not something that you plan. It's just something that God plans for you. Like, You just never know. You can impact somebody's life by just sitting down talking to them. And it's just a blessing. I don't have enough words. It just feels good. It feels really, really good. I wish I had enough to do more, but yeah, the hardest thing for me is turning down business with family and friends, because sometimes they'll ask, like I said, for an apartment, and we've done it in the past, and we like, this is not working out, so yeah, nah.
Yeah.
Nah, no.
With your children, do you think that they will become a part of the family business? Do you think that they'll help you in your business or anything like that?
So I have a hair salon. I bought a hair salon called T's Hair Heaven. And I bought it because my daughter came to me, my middle daughter. She's like me. She's like this little free spirit that just does whatever. And she's like, Mom, I want to do lashes. And I'm like, okay, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. I was like, well, I didn't want her to work for anybody. I'm like, okay, let's just buy a shop, and then you can do the lashes and you can manage the salon for me. You know what I mean? And that's been working out. My other two daughters in the medical field. My third daughter, Miani, she was born at 5 months of preemie, and growing up, she always wanted to be a prenatal nurse. So that's what she is now.
Wow.
Yeah. My other daughter is a biochemist, and she's working on her master's now. So 2 graduated from college, medical college, and 1 little free spirit. Yeah. And then I have my 2 stepsons. Now, my 2 stepsons work with my husband, so they're picking it up. The girls, I'm like, which one of y'all gonna get your real estate license? But I didn't get my license until later, Like I started late, but I'm glad I started. I'm just like, if my mom had a company, I'll be there. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with y'all. Here, they just don't. I think this generation they're not really fazed by things. They just have a sense of entitlement, like they already know. And I'm like, yeah, but you have to maintain it. If not, you'll lose it.
Yeah.
It's not going to maintain itself.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents, I didn't learn anything. I taught myself how to cook. I'm not dogging my parents out, but
Well, I've got to tell you though, you have truly defied all the odds that were against you. And to sit with you and have this conversation and to just hear of your journey, it's an honor. And it's just beautiful. And I admire your tenacity and your drive, and just, you have such a soft spirit. You have a very sweet, calming spirit, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
That's the Nicole.
That's Nicole.
That's my last name. I told you I had 5 names. I'm like,
yeah,
these names on my birth. I hate my birth certificate. I'm like, what is going on? Yeah.
Well, I want to give you your flowers. You have built something beautiful from, a foundation that, was definitely, it was just against you, and you found a way and you did it, and you've raised beautiful children. You are building a beautiful empire. You have a great marriage, and that is just absolutely, I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah. So I know there are people that are listening, and some women that are like, I would love to just connect with you and learn more about your journey. So tell me, where can people find you?
On Instagram, I have 4 Instagram pages. On Instagram, they can find me at ArLancia Williams _mogul. My next page is Flip Queen Reality Show, which I didn't speak of today. I wrote a reality show. And I have Platinum Trust Realty on Instagram. And also I have my own podcast. It's called Let's Talk Real Estate with ArLancia. And that page is Podcast with ArLancia. And of course, my company website is www.platttrustrealty.com.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for just sharing your journey and your wisdom and your love. It oozes through this conversation. And for all who are listening, consider this conversation a reminder that it does not matter what you have gone through. You can still become whoever you desire to become, that and more. As long as you are connected to God and you stay focused and you put those blinders on, like ArLancia was talking about, you can do it, okay? And thank you all so much for joining. And until next time, remember that you're worthy. And we'll talk to you later. All right, bye.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast episode of the Ezer Mindset Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to stay connected and in the know of all upcoming inspiring conversations with Altamise Nicole and inspiring women from all around the world. Until next time, stay soft and fearless, Queen.